You can speak English, but starting a real conversation with a stranger feels completely different, doesn't it?
Oh, undeniably.
As an immigrant, it's not just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about breaking the silence, sounding natural, and building genuine connections in a new culture.
Right, the real world stuff.
What do you say first? How do you keep the conversation going without awkward pauses? In this episode, you'll learn simple, real-life English that helps you turn small talk into real friendships so you don't just live in a new place, you truly belong there.
I love that.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into the unwritten social scripts of making friends in an English-speaking culture. We are, building a roadmap from that terrifying first hello all the way to a lasting, genuine friendship.
That really is the core of the challenge, isn't it? I mean, validating that specific experience is so important.
Yeah, it's huge.
Anyone who has packed up their life and moved to a new country knows that mastering the social nuances of a language, the rhythm of it, the hidden meanings, the unspoken expectations, is often substantially harder than memorizing the grammar rules themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it is one thing to be able to conjugate a verb perfectly on a test. It is entirely another to know how to casually join a conversation at a coffee shop without feeling like you are, interrupting a private meeting.
Or completely misreading the room.
Right on the money. Our goal today is to bridge that gap for you. We want to decode the underlying psychology of these interactions so they don't feel like random tests you're constantly failing.
I'm so glad you brought up the psychology because the textbook completely fails to prepare you for the actual unpredictable human being standing in front of you.
It really does.
So let's start right at the beginning of any interaction, breaking the ice. First impressions and small talk. For someone new to the culture, it genuinely looks like a minefield.
Oh, a total minefield.
You look at the acceptable greetings, and the spectrum is just wild. On one extreme end, you have the hyper-formal, how do you do?
Right.
And on the other, you have the standard, safe, nice to meet you, all the way down to the super casual, what's up? Or how's it going?
Yeah, and knowing which one to deploy is your first real test of reading the room.
If you pick the wrong one, the whole interaction feels tilted, doesn't it?
Spot on. If you use how do you do at a casual backyard barbecue, you immediately create an artificial, almost theatrical distance.
Like you're in a period drama or something.
Yes. You found like a Victorian time traveler.
Yeah.
And the other person won't know how to respond to you.
They'll just kind of stare at you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
But a cheerful, great to meet you, or a casual, hey, I'm so-and-so, sets a baseline of warmth. It invites further interaction.
Because the purpose of a greeting isn't just to announce your presence, right?
It's to establish the emotional temperature of the conversation.
Okay. Let's ground this in a highly specific, real-world scenario. Imagine you are in line at a local coffee shop, you're holding a book, just minding your own business, and the person behind you says, oh, I love that book. Are you enjoying it? Now, if you are nervous about your English or just caught off guard, your instinct might just be to give a closed-off answer.
Just a quick yes, thank you.
Yeah, you say yes, thank you, and turn back around to face the barista. But if your goal is to build a connection, how do you handle that differently?
Well, the strategy is to respond warmly and immediately toss the conversational ball back over the net.
Okay, so you don't just answer the question.
Right, you ask one in return. You say, yes, it's really interesting. Have you read it? Now you've initiated a loop.
Ah, a loop.
Let's say they tell you they finished it last month and they casually introduce themselves as Sarah. You say, nice to meet you, Sarah. I'm actually new to the area.
I want to pause right there because I'm actually new to the area. Seems like such an innocuous sentence, but it carries a ton of weight, doesn't it?
It is incredibly powerful. It is a subtle but very clear social signal.
What is it signaling exactly? Specifically.
By stating you are new, you are communicating availability for connection. You are subtly telling Sarah, I do not have a massive closed-off social circle yet.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way.
And furthermore, you are handing Sarah a very easy, socially acceptable follow-up question. You are doing the heavy lifting of the conversation for her.
And 9 times out of 10, that follow-up question is going to be...
Oh, really? Welcome. Where are you from originally?
Okay, let's unpack this. Because being asked, where are you from, is a massive sticking point for a lot of people I've talked to.
It really is a sensitive area.
It can trigger this intense, almost instinctual defensiveness. Think about it from the immigrant's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You move somewhere new, you are trying so hard to integrate, to blend in, to master the accent, to just be a normal person buying a coffee.
Right.
And the very moment someone asks that question, it can feel like they're pointing a giant spotlight at you. It makes you feel like you have a flashing neon foreigner sign on your head.
It's a very isolating feeling.
You immediately start wondering, are they asking because my accent is weird? Are they trying to categorize me? Are they pointing out that I don't belong here?
And that reaction is incredibly common, deeply felt, and totally understandable given the vulnerability of moving to a new culture.
But is it actually what's happening?
No. And if we want to succeed socially, we have to reframe this entirely. In North American culture, particularly in the United States and Canada, asking, "Where are you from?" is usually an anchor point of genuine positive interest.
So it's not a test.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It is almost never a mechanism for excluding you or pointing out that you don't belong.
But why is it the go-to question? I mean, why do they care so much about geography?
Well, you have to look at the historical and sociological makeup of these countries. These are cultures largely built by mobility.
What do you mean by mobility?
It is completely normal for someone to be born in Ohio, go to college in Texas, and move to California for work. People are constantly moving from state to state, province to province.
Oh, right. Everyone is moving around.
Because of that massive internal migration, almost everyone is somewhat of a transplant. So asking "where are you from" is a standard, deeply ingrained conversation starter.
It is their way of looking for a geographic hook to continue the dialogue.
Spot on. So they aren't secretly saying, "You clearly don't belong here." They are just saying, "Please give me a topic we can talk about."
That's a huge relief.
They are desperately hoping you name a place they have visited, or a place their cousin lives, or a place they have always wanted to go.
And if they don't know the place at all,
Then they are showing curiosity about your unique journey. It's an invitation to share your story. A warm, honest response to that question builds a bridge.
but if you get defensive,
If you get defensive, cross your arms and give a short, irritated answer, it shuts the interaction down immediately. They will feel they've offended you and back away.
wow, that reframing changes everything. It takes the perceived hostility right out of the interaction.
Undeniably.
It brings us to the broader topic of small talk essentials. We've got the universally safe topics, the weather, weekend plans, work. But then there's this very specific, incredibly confusing phenomenon that trips up almost every newcomer.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
I call it the empty offer. Let's look at the classic elevator scenario.
Yeah.
You run into your neighbor in the lobby, you have a pleasant little chat about the rain,
Right. Very standard.
and as the elevator doors open for them to leave, they smile warmly and say, "Well, let me know if you need anything."
Ah, yes. The classic conversational trap for anyone new to the culture.
It really is, because in a lot of cultures around the world, if someone looks you in the eye and says, "Let me know if you need anything," they mean it literally and completely.
They really do.
They mean, "Here is my phone number. Call me on Saturday morning so I can help you carry a heavy sofa up 3 flights of stairs." But here, if you actually do that, if you knock on their door asking for hard labor, they look at you like you have two heads. It feels so contradictory.
It is a fascinating cultural duality. And to understand it, you have to look at the cultural emphasis on individualism versus communal reliance.
Okay, break that down for me.
In many high-context or highly communal cultures, mutual reliance is the foundation of a neighborhood. But in English-speaking North American cultures, which heavily prize independence and self-reliance, offering help in that vague, open-ended way is often just a polite gesture.
It's just a verbal artifact.
Right on the money. It's a way to signal goodwill, safety, and neighborliness without actually committing to intense personal sacrifice or hard labor.
So it's not a contract.
No, it operates as a warm closing statement to a pleasant interaction rather than a binding legal contract for services.
I have to be honest, that sounds exhausting to navigate. How on earth do you respond to an offer that isn't really an offer without making the whole situation weird?
The best, most frictionless response is a warm, appreciative thank you.
Just thank you.
Yeah, you say, "That's so kind of you, I really appreciate it." And you leave it at that. You acknowledge their goodwill.
So you never actually ask for anything.
Well, that doesn't mean the offer is completely void. But if you do follow up, you have to understand the unwritten parameters of the offer. It needs to be for a specific, highly reasonable, low-effort request.
Like what? What crosses the line?
Asking them for a recommendation for a good local takeout place or where to find a reliable plumber. Perfect. That requires 2 minutes of their time and honors their local knowledge.
And the bad example.
Asking them to drive you to the airport at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday, you have crossed a massive boundary. You save those requests for deep, established friendships.
Right on the money. Okay, so you've successfully navigated the lobby of small talk. You survived the elevator, you talked about the rain, you handled the vague offer of help without asking them to move your furniture.
You survived the foundation.
Exactly, I mean, undeniably. But you can't stay in the lobby forever. How do you actually get invited into the house of genuine friendship?
Let's transition into how we move past the surface and deepen the connection.
As you said, small talk is the foundation, but you can't live in the foundation. You have to build the house.
And what are the tools for building that house?
The tools are phrases that show active, engaged interest. Instead of just nodding and saying, uh-huh, while someone speaks, you use phrases that validate their experience.
Like what kind of phrases?
Things like, that sounds fascinating, or how did you get into that field? You actively look for common ground.
Oh, I see.
When they share an opinion or experience, you say, me too, or I can totally relate to that. It shows you are actively listening and synthesizing what they say, not just politely waiting for your turn to speak.
But there is a deeper, much scarier layer to this, which is a power of vulnerability. Let's look at a scenario at a gym or a community center.
You are chatting with an acquaintance you've seen a few times. They casually ask how you are finding the new city. Now, instinctually, when we move to a new place, we want to seem successful, put together, and resilient.
Of course, it's human nature.
We want to project this aura of being cool and fine. So the instinct is to say, everything is amazing. I love it here. I am absolutely thriving.
Which is a very safe answer.
Right. But the better approach is to admit a little bit of struggle, to say, it's been good, but honestly, I'm still adjusting. It's tough not knowing many people yet.
That moment right there is a pivot point in any potential friendship.
But I'm going to push back on this because it feels dangerous. If I admit I'm lonely or struggling to someone I barely know, won't they think I'm desperate?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah. Won't they view me as a potential burden and immediately run the other way? It feels like terrible PR for myself.
What's fascinating here is that human connection operates on a completely counterintuitive logic. We think perfection attracts people, but perfection is actually deeply intimidating.
Intimidating? How so?
Perfection creates a smooth wall that no one can climb. When you present a flawless facade, the other person feels they have to match it. Admitting you are struggling doesn't make you a burden, it makes you relatable.
It provides a foothold.
Absolutely. When you are honest about a shared human experience, like the universal feeling of being a bit lost or lonely in a new city, it signals that you are safe.
It's like you are dropping your heavy shield, which visually tells them they are safe to drop theirs.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
It gives the other person permission to drop their own armor. Almost always they'll respond with relief and say, I totally get that. When I moved here 3 years ago, I didn't know a single soul.
It was really hard for the first 6 months.
Yes. And suddenly a massive shift has occurred. You aren't two strangers making superficial small talk about the gym equipment anymore.
You are two human beings connecting over the shared emotional experience of resilience and adaptation.
Vulnerability is the fast track to trust.
Vulnerability is the fast track to trust. I love that phrasing. So, let's say you've taken that leap, you've established some trust, dropped the armor, and you feel a genuine vibe with this person.
Now comes the tricky part.
Right. Now we have to move into the actual logistics of connection. Making plans, dealing with invitations, and handling rejections. Because there is a huge canyon-sized difference between vague plans and specific plans.
This is where a staggering number of potential friendships simply die on the vine. It all comes down to the vague invitation. We should hang out sometime.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
In this culture, we should hang out sometime is often just another pleasantry, much like the empty elevator offer.
So it means nothing.
Well, it generally translates to, I have positive feelings toward you, and in a perfect theoretical world with infinite time, I would enjoy spending time with you. But it has no teeth. It requires no commitment.
Right. It's the social equivalent of whistling into the wind and hoping a house gets built. If you actually want to see the person again, you have to be the one to step up and be specific. You have to say, would you be interested in grabbing coffee after the community class next Thursday?
And stepping up to offer a specific time and place brings up a crucial cultural dynamic regarding the weight of follow-through.
Follow-through is a big deal here, isn't it?
Suggesting a specific activity at a specific time shows you are serious about the connection. But, and this is a vital caveat, in North American culture, If you set a concrete plan, you must follow through.
Why is it so rigid? I mean, in some cultures, a meeting time is just a general suggestion, and if you don't show up, it's not a big deal.
Because time is treated as a highly valuable, almost tangible commodity. You will often hear phrases like spending time, wasting time, or saving time.
It's treated like currency.
Spot on. So canceling a specific plan at the last minute simply because you feel tired or just don't feel like going is considered highly disrespectful.
You are essentially telling the other person that your comfort is more valuable than the currency of their time.
Exactly. Absolutely. Unless there's a genuine emergency or illness, you are expected to honor the commitment.
Which brings us to the very delicate art of the rejection. Because let's face it, sometimes you get a specific invite and you genuinely cannot make it.
It happens to everyone.
Let's look at a workplace scenario. A coworker you like invites you to go bowling with a group on a Friday night. Let's say you already have family visiting from out of town, so you absolutely cannot go.
Okay, a real scheduling conflict.
The way you decline this invitation is critical to the survival of the friendship. I like to look at it this way. A bad rejection is like aggressively slamming a door in someone's face.
They will walk away and never, ever knock on that door again.
Right. A good rejection, however, leaves your foot firmly in the door.
That is a brilliant analogy. If you just look at your coworker and say, "No, I'm busy Friday," you have slammed the door. It's too abrupt.
The coworker will immediately assume you don't like them.
Yes, they'll think you are brushing them off, and to protect their own ego, they will never invite you out again. You need to use the foot in the door technique.
How does that sound in practice?
You say, "That is so nice of you to invite me. Unfortunately, I have family visiting this Friday, so I'm tied up, but I'd absolutely love to join the next time you guys go out."
And then if you want to be really smooth, you drop the magic phrase, "Can I take a rain check?"
Yes, the famous rain check. This is a uniquely North American idiom, and to understand its power, you have to know its origin.
I've always wondered where this came from.
It originally comes from the early days of baseball. If a game had to be stopped or canceled because of bad weather, if it was rained out, the stadium officials would give the fans a physical paper ticket, literally a rain check.
Oh, wow, a literal check.
Right. This ticket guaranteed that the fan could come back and see another game in the future for free. They weren't losing out. Their investment was protected.
That is fascinating. So how does that translate to dodging a bowling invite?
In a social context, asking for a rain check signals something vital to the person inviting you. It translates to, "I am rejecting this specific time slot because of a scheduling conflict, but I am absolutely not rejecting you or the potential friendship."
It is an explicit verbal promise that you want the invitation to be reissued.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
It protects the other person's ego and clearly leaves the door open.
It's so elegant when you break it down. You express warm gratitude for the invite, you give a brief, legitimate reason for declining, and you state explicit interest in future plans.
The person knows it's completely safe to ask you again without fear of rejection.
All right, so let's say your rain check worked. A few weeks later, they invite you again, it turns into an actual plan, and suddenly you find yourself invited to a larger social gathering.
The big leagues.
Yeah. Let's talk about navigating social settings, specifically the incredibly intimidating world of house parties and cultural etiquette.
House parties can be incredibly overwhelming for an immigrant, or frankly, for anyone.
They really are.
Usually the host welcomes you at the door, takes your coat, maybe introduces you to one or two people in the hallway, but then they're pulled away.
They have to go check on the food in the oven or greet another guest ringing the doorbell.
Right. And suddenly, you are standing there completely alone in a crowded room with a paper cup in your hand, listening to the roar of conversation around you.
It is genuinely terrifying. Walking up to strangers at a party feels like crashing a private, closed-door meetup.
It's a very common fear.
You stand there looking around the living room thinking, everyone here already knows each other. They are mid-conversation, they have inside jokes. I can't just inject myself into this. I'm going to look like a weirdo.
But there is a very specific, almost mathematical piece of advice for this exact situation.
Look for groups of 3 or more people.
I call it the math of mingling. And there is deep structural psychological reasoning behind it.
Okay, let's unpack this math.
You have to look at the geometry of human interaction. If you see two people talking, they form what sociologists call a dyad. A dyad is a closed circuit.
The physical space between them is tight.
Exactly. They might be catching up on highly personal news, having an intimate emotional conversation, or even quietly resolving a conflict.
So if you walk up to a dyad, you disrupt the entire dynamic.
The conversation has to physically and mentally screech to a halt to accommodate you, and it usually feels awkward for everyone involved.
But a group of 3 or more is functionally different, like triangles and circles, not straight lines.
Entirely different. A group of 3, 4, or 5 people forms a dynamic, open system. By its very nature, a larger group cannot sustain a deeply intimate, private conversation.
It is usually a lighter topic, like someone telling an anecdote, debating a movie, or making a joke.
Right. And more importantly, the physical geometry of the group is more open. People are standing in a loose circle.
Oh, I see.
Because of this, an open system naturally absorbs newcomers without the conversation breaking. You simply walk up, stand on the edge of the circle, smile, wait for a natural pause in the laughter or the story, and say, "Hi, everyone. I don't think we've met. I'm so-and-so."
It is expected, encouraged, and perfectly acceptable behavior at an American party.
Spot on.
That takes an immense amount of pressure off. You just scan the room, look for the triangles and circles, and ignore the straight lines.
It's a great rule of thumb.
Now, before you even get to the point of doing the math, of mingling, you actually have to walk through the front door of the party, which means we need to decode the anxiety-inducing ritual of gift-giving.
Oh, this causes so much panic.
If you are invited to a dinner party or a gathering, you generally bring a small token, a bottle of wine, a bouquet of flowers, or a dessert. But the reaction you get from the host can be utterly baffling.
You really can be.
You happily hand them the expensive bottle of wine, and they look at it and say, "Oh, you really didn't have to do that."
And instantly, sheer panic sets in for the guest. They freeze and think, did I insult them? Did I bring the wrong type of wine? Is it a cultural taboo to bring alcohol? Are they rejecting my gift?
Absolutely. Your heart drops into your stomach. You think you've committed a massive, unforgivable faux pas on night 1.
We have to translate this specific cultural code because it means the exact opposite of what the words literally say.
So they aren't mad.
When a North American host says, "Oh, you didn't have to do that," it absolutely does not mean they are rejecting the gift. And it doesn't mean you made a mistake.
What does it mean then?
It is simply a required, highly ritualized, polite acknowledgement of your effort. To understand why, we have to look at the egalitarian roots of the culture.
Okay.
The host wants to express humility by suggesting their invitation to dinner was given freely and didn't require a payment or a toll at the door.
It's a modesty reflex.
Right on the money.
Yeah.
It's a modesty reflex. The standard cultural etiquette actually dictates that you bring a small token to a dinner party to show respect for the host's effort in cooking and cleaning.
So if you showed up empty-handed, it would be noticed.
Oh, undeniably.
Yeah.
So when they give the modesty reflex and say, "You shouldn't have," your job is to simply play your part in the script.
You just respond warmly, "I wanted to. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me."
You acknowledge their modesty, confirm your enthusiasm, and the ritual is complete.
It is so simple. Once you know the hidden script, it goes from a moment of panic to a moment of smooth connection.
Exactly.
Now, let's fast forward a bit. Let's say the party was a massive success. You mingled with the groups of 3, you successfully navigated the gift giving, you met some great people, and you even got a few phone numbers.
A great night.
Now we exit the physical world and enter the era of the digital handshake. Texting, emojis, and social media.
This transition is where things can easily fall apart, because in the digital realm, tone becomes everything. And tone is notoriously difficult to convey through plain text.
So true. Let's look at a scenario. You text someone you met at a book club gathering. "Hi, this is so-and-so. I was thinking about checking out that library you mentioned. Would you want to go together sometime?"
A great specific text.
They agree, and you set a time to meet at 2 p.m. In looking at these early text exchanges, there is a heavy reliance on emojis. A smiley face, a thumbs up, a laughing face. Now, I know that in a professional email to your boss, dropping a smiley face emoji feels risky, maybe a bit juvenile or unprofessional. But in the context of making new friends, it seems like emojis are practically a requirement.
That's because an emoji functions as a digital smile. When you meet someone face-to-face, you are constantly relying on micro-expressions, facial cues, vocal inflection, and body language to soften your words and convey warmth.
And in a text message, all of that rich contextual data is stripped away.
Right, leaving only bare text. If you text "sounds good" with a hard period, the recipient's brain might interpret that as cold, abrupt, or even passive-aggressive.
Even if you didn't mean it that way at all.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Yeah.
With an exclamation point is warmer, but sounds good. With a smiling emoji guarantees the tone is received exactly as you intended. Friendly, casual, and enthusiastic.
So in the fragile early stages of a new friendship, a lack of emojis can actually make you seem accidentally cold or disinterested. You literally have to digitize your warmth.
That's a perfect way to phrase it.
But what about the broader digital landscape? Navigating social media platforms. Finding these new acquaintances on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn.
Here, understanding boundaries is key. The general unspoken rule is Instagram and Facebook are for personal, social connections. LinkedIn is strictly for professional, career-oriented networking.
Okay, that's clear enough.
But the crucial insight for newcomers is the timing of the connection. You must avoid trying to connect digitally too soon.
Right, like don't hunt down their last name online and send a Facebook friend request from your car in the parking lot 5 minutes after meeting them briefly at a seminar.
Absolutely. If the meeting was very brief or purely professional, you need to wait. Let the connection establish itself with a bit more foundation in the real world first.
Sending a request too early can feel invasive or overly eager.
Furthermore, once you are connected, you have to understand that social media engagement varies wildly from person to person.
Oh, this is a psychological trap I've seen so many people fall into. You add a new friend on Instagram, you like all their photos, you leave a nice supportive comment on their recent post, and
Let me guess.
crickets. Crickets! They don't reply to your comment, or you post a photo and they never like it, and immediately your brain spirals. You think, well, they hate me, I annoyed them, the friendship is clearly over.
Which is a complete, tragic misread of the situation. We project our own digital habits onto others.
What do you mean?
Some people are chronic scrollers who consume content but never actively engage, click like, or comment. Some people only check their apps once a week.
So it's not about you.
If someone doesn't reply to a post or engage with your digital footprint, it is rarely a personal rejection of you. You have to completely decouple your real-world connection from digital metrics.
That is such a profound relief to hear.
Some people simply prefer in-person connection and are terrible at maintaining a digital presence. You cannot measure the health of a new friendship solely by how many likes they give you.
And this difference in digital behavior brings up a much larger point. Sometimes what feels like a mixed signal or a rejection is actually just a fundamental cultural difference in how we express politeness.
Yes, the cultural translation of politeness.
Let's talk about decoding what is often called the American smile and understanding baseline cultural nuances.
This is perhaps one of the most jarring, emotionally confusing adjustments for immigrants, coming from cultures where people only smile at close friends or family.
In many parts of the world, a smile is a sacred currency reserved for genuine trust.
Right.
Let's use the classic cashier scenario. You are at the grocery store, you get to the front of the line, and the cashier looks right at you, gives you a beaming, radiant smile, and says, "Hi, how are you doing today?"
Very common.
You smile back, say you're good, and ask how they are. They say, "I'm great. Did you find everything okay?" You chat for a second. Internally, you were thinking, "Wow, what a lovely, warm person. We are really bonding."
The people in this country are so incredibly open.
Exactly. And then they hand you your receipt, their eyes instantly glaze over, they look past you, and they yell, "Next," to the person in line behind you. It is deeply confusing.
It feels like whiplash.
You walk out to your car feeling a bit misled, like they smiled at me, they asked about my day, and then they completely dropped me the second the transaction ended. But isn't that just fake?
It's a completely understandable reaction.
Coming from a culture where a smile means deep trust, it feels incredibly deceptive to smile at someone you don't care about. How do you mentally reconcile that without feeling cynical about the culture?
Well, it requires a massive paradigm shift in how you view social interactions. You aren't being deceived, you are misinterpreting the local currency.
Okay, unpack that for me.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to understand the concept of baseline friendliness. In North American culture, overt friendliness, smiling at strangers on the street, asking, "How are you?" in passing, is a baseline of cultural politeness.
So it's just the standard setting.
Right. It's a way of signaling, I acknowledge you and I am not a threat. In a retail or service environment, it is literally mandated customer service. It is designed to make the transaction pleasant.
It is not an invitation to deep, enduring friendship.
Spot on. So when the cashier asks, "How are you?" They don't actually want to know that my back hurts, my car is making a weird noise, and I am worried about my cat.
Good to know.
How are you? From a stranger in a passing interaction is not a genuine inquiry into your emotional state. It is a complex greeting disguised as a question.
The appropriate response is brief, pleasant, and reciprocal. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
You have to recalibrate your expectations so you don't feel misled, cynical, or rejected when that interaction doesn't go further. Genuine friendship develops slowly over time through shared experiences, not in a 2-minute window in a checkout line.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. It's a polite performance, not a deception. What about the physical bubble? Personal space seems to be another area where the rules are wildly different depending on where you are from.
The physical bubble in North America is quite large compared to many South American, Middle Eastern, or Southern European cultures.
How large are we talking?
Generally, people stand about 2 to 3 feet apart during a casual conversation. This stems from a history of expansive geography and a cultural emphasis on individualism and personal autonomy.
So if you come from a culture where physical proximity implies warmth, and you step in closer than 2 feet,
You will physically see the North American person subtly lean back or take a half step away to reestablish that invisible bubble.
they aren't repulsed by you
No, they are just restoring their required spatial equilibrium.
and touching. Where are the boundaries there?
Handshakes are the absolute, undisputed standard for first meetings in both professional and casual settings. Firm, brief, look them in the eye.
What about hugging?
You only transition to quick, friendly hugs after there is established familiarity and comfort. And the best strategy here for an immigrant is simply to mirror the other person. Let them set the pace.
If they extend a hand, take it. If they lean in for a brief hug when saying goodbye, go with it.
But avoid initiating physical contact with people you don't know well.
That's a solid, safe rule of thumb. Mirror their movements. Now, let's talk about the verbal bubble, the conversational minefields.
Oh, this is crucial.
When you are just starting to build trust with someone, there are safe topics and very unsafe topics. We know the safe ones. The weather, local food recommendations, travel, pets. You can talk to an American about their golden retriever for 3 hours and they will love you forever.
That is undeniably true.
But what about the unsafe ones?
The massive glowing red warning signs are politics, religion, money, weight.
Just avoid them entirely.
Yes. These are highly volatile, emotionally charged topics in modern North American culture. They are deeply personal and often intensely divisive.
Bringing them up with a new acquaintance is the social equivalent of throwing a live grenade into the conversation.
Right on the money.
But what if they pull the pin? What if someone you just met, maybe a friend of a friend at a party, turns to you and says, "So, what do you think about the upcoming election?" Or, "What's your stance on this controversial policy?"
It does happen.
How do you get out of that trap without being incredibly rude or awkwardly silent?
You utilize the polite pivot. You must remember that you do not have to engage just because you were asked a question.
How does the pivot work?
You can smoothly deflect by saying, I'm still learning about the political system here, so I don't really have a strong opinion yet. But speaking of local issues, what do you think about the new park development they're building downtown?
Ah, I see. Or you can ask about the local school district.
Right. You acknowledge the question gracefully, claim a lack of expertise or desire to debate, and immediately offer a safe, local, alternative topic.
You owe absolutely no one your political or religious views, especially when you're just trying to build foundational trust.
That is so important to remember.
That pivot is an absolute lifesaver. It protects your boundaries without killing the conversation. Okay, so you've navigated the minefields, you've made a friend, you've successfully hung out a few times.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Now we enter the crucial, ongoing, and sometimes exhausting work, the maintenance phase, keeping the friendship alive. Because making a friend is a single event. Keeping a friend is a long-term process.
And that process operates on a specific, generally accepted timeline.
What does that timeline look like?
If you have a great initial meeting or a fun first coffee date, you should follow up within 1 to 3 days with a text. Just a simple, "It was great meeting you," or "Thanks again for the restaurant recommendation, I'm going to try it."
And then?
Then, within 1 to 2 weeks, you should suggest a specific plan to see them again. If you let a month go by, the momentum completely dies.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. I like to think of friendship maintenance like a game of tennis.
Oh, I like that analogy.
You have to hit the ball back over the net. If you invite them to do something, you serve the ball. They accept, they show up, and eventually they invite you to do something. They hit the ball back.
A healthy rally.
Right. But if you are the one always serving, always initiating the text messages, always making the plans, always driving to their side of town, You aren't playing tennis. You're just hitting a tennis ball against a brick wall. And it's exhausting.
That is undeniably the dynamic to watch for. A healthy friendship requires reciprocal effort from both sides. If you initiate half the time, the friendship grows naturally.
But what if you reach out, suggest a plan, and they decline without offering an alternative? And then a week later you try again, and they decline again without an alternative.
You have to take the hint.
That's a tough pill to swallow. It feels like a failure.
It is painful, but it is deeply necessary for your own emotional energy conservation. People are busy, yes, but people make time for what they prioritize.
If they decline twice without offering a rain check, you need to redirect your energy.
Stop hitting the ball at the wall. Redirect your efforts toward people who are actively hitting the ball back over the net.
Now, what happens when a genuinely good rally gets interrupted by a miscommunication? There is a scenario about a dinner party where a friend thinks you're upset because you were very quiet all evening.
Oh, this is a classic cultural clash.
The next day they text you, "You seemed upset last night. Is everything okay?" Now, your instinct might be to just brush it off, avoid conflict, and say, "No, I'm fine. Everything is great."
But that doesn't actually solve the problem.
Right. The healthier approach is addressing it head on. You explain, "I didn't mean to come across that way. I was just really tired. And in my culture, being quiet and just listening when you're tired is totally normal. I was actually having a great time."
This kind of direct communication is vital. It prevents small confusions from festering into deep-seated resentment. We have to look at the difference between high-context and low-context cultures.
Break those down for me.
In high-context cultures, people rely heavily on subtle nonverbal cues, shared history, and indirect communication to resolve issues. But English-speaking North America is a distinctly low-context culture. Because it is a melting pot of so many different backgrounds, people cannot rely on shared unspoken assumptions. Explicit verbal communication is the gold standard.
If you think there is a cultural misunderstanding, name it. Say, "I think there might be a cultural difference in how we are viewing this."
Most people deeply appreciate when you address things openly, calmly, and kindly. It shows you value the friendship enough to clarify things rather than just pulling away.
Let's shift our focus and look at where these friendships actually happen in the wild. Contextual friendships. The environments where we spend the majority of our days. Work, school, and the neighborhood.
Starting with the workplace. There is a very delicate, sometimes confusing balance here between maintaining professional boundaries and fostering personal connection.
Yes, the workplace is a tricky ecosystem. You want to be friendly and collaborative, but you must remain professional. You can't treat your coworkers like your college roommates.
The strategy is gradual escalation. You start with safe, work-related small talk by the coffee machine. How was your weekend? Did you finish that report?
Then you look for environmental clues.
Right. You notice a coworker has a specific sports team mug or a picture of a hiking trail on their desk. You ask about it. You find common ground over shared hobbies.
Eventually, after a few weeks of this, you might graduate to, "A few of us are grabbing lunch on Tuesday. Would you want to come?"
It's organic. You don't walk up to your cubicle mate on day one and start trauma dumping about your childhood. You ask about their mug. You build a foundation of small, safe interactions.
What about the academic world? Universities, language classes, certification programs.
Academic settings are arguably the ultimate friendship incubators because you have a built-in shared struggle.
The terrifying exams.
Exactly. Undeniably. The shared anxiety of a difficult class bonds people incredibly quickly. Study groups are brilliant because they remove the heavy pressure of pure socialization.
If you invite someone to a party, the only goal is to be charming, which is stressful. But if you are in a study group, you are there to work.
Right. You lean over after a tough lecture and say, "Did you understand any of that? Want to review the notes together tomorrow?"
You meet at the library, you suffer through the complex material together.
And the transition to friendship is seamless. "Well, my brain is fried, we finished the chapter, and I'm starving. Let's go grab some food."
The shared task naturally bleeds into a social event. You don't have to force it. Now, my absolute favorite piece of strategy regarding making friends is about the neighborhood, the dog park effect.
Oh, this is a great one.
The advice is to walk your dog or go to the local coffee shop or jog through the park at the exact same time every single day.
This is a hack rooted in a well-documented psychological phenomenon called the mere exposure effect. It was extensively studied in the 1960s.
How does it work?
The premise is incredibly simple but powerful. People tend to develop a preference for things and other people merely because they are familiar with them. The human brain is wired to fear the unknown and find comfort in the recognizable.
So just by physically existing in the same public space repeatedly without even speaking, you become more likable to the people around you.
Absolutely. Think about the timeline. Day 1 at the dog park, you are a complete stranger. People might glance at you, but they will keep their distance.
And day 3.
Day 3, you are that person with the golden retriever. Day 7, you are a familiar face. Consistent routines in consistent locations lower the barrier to entry for a conversation.
When someone sees you every Saturday morning at the same coffee shop, their brain unconsciously categorizes you as safe, predictable, and part of the local community.
It makes it incredibly easy, almost inevitable, for them to finally strike up a conversation with, "I think I've seen you here before. I love your dog."
Familiarity naturally breeds comfort, which is the prerequisite for friendship.
Spot on.
It's like hacking human psychology just by drinking your morning coffee at 8 a.m. every Tuesday instead of randomly throughout the week. Brilliant.
It really works.
Okay, as we get deeper into these conversations and we start hanging out with locals, we run into the hidden traps of the English language. Speaking the hidden language, idioms and slang.
Oh, yes.
This is the stuff that smooths out social interactions and makes you sound natural, but it can sound like total incomprehensible nonsense if you try to translate it literally in your head.
It really can. Idioms are the cultural flavor of a language. They carry the history and the casual rhythm of the people. Let's look at a very common one. Play it by ear.
Oh, I used to hear this all the time.
You are trying to make weekend plans, and your friend says, "I'm not sure what time I'll be done with my errands on Saturday. Let's just play it by ear."
I always wondered about this when I first heard it. Why do we say play it by ear when we are talking about schedules and clocks? It makes no literal sense.
It originates from music. If a musician can play a song by ear, it means they don't need to look at the rigid written sheet music. They just listen to the melody and figure it out as they go.
Oh, wow.
So socially, it has evolved to mean exactly that. We aren't going to look at a rigid written schedule. We're going to improvise, see how we feel, and decide the timing as we go.
That makes so much sense. Once you know the origin, the logic clicks, and you never forget it. And then there is the casual slang that acts as social lubricant. Things like, "I'm down."
Right.
Someone asks, "Want to go see that new sci-fi movie?" You say, "Yeah, I'm down." Or, "Let's catch up soon," meaning, let's talk about what's been happening in our lives over the past month.
Or we really hit it off, meaning we connected instantly.
Or consider the phrases we use to brush off minor friction or mistakes. "No worries, my bad, for sure."
Yeah.
If you accidentally step on someone's toe in a crowded hallway and say, "My bad," it is a casual, low-stakes apology that immediately diffuses tension.
Now, the most important insight here for an immigrant is that you do not need to force yourself to use these phrases to be understood.
Right.
If you say, "I agree to go to the movie," instead of "I'm down," people will understand you perfectly. You don't have to pretend to be a teenager to make friends.
Right. If it doesn't sound natural coming out of your mouth, it's just going to feel awkward. So why is it so important to learn them?
Because recognizing these idioms and slang phrases helps you track the rapid, unpredictable flow of native conversation. It stops you from getting mentally stuck trying to translate a phrase literally while the conversation moves on without you.
Recognizing them makes you feel less like an outsider looking in through a window.
And as you get more comfortable and integrated, you will naturally, without even thinking about it, start incorporating the phrases that feel authentic to your own voice.
It's about tuning your ear to the frequency of the culture. But let's be honest, tuning that ear, navigating the unwritten rules, forcing yourself to be vulnerable, it takes a massive amount of mental and emotional energy.
It is a marathon.
Which brings us to our final and perhaps most important discussion. Overcoming internal hurdles. Dealing with the emotional toll of immigrating, the language barriers, the inevitable loneliness, and the crisis of identity that happens when you try to merge two lives.
This is the invisible weight that every single immigrant carries, and it is rarely talked about openly.
There is a scenario about language anxiety that is so poignant and universally experienced. You are at a party, you are having a great time, you're finally feeling confident. You are trying to tell a story about a cool exhibit you saw, and suddenly your brain just blanks on a simple word. You're trying to say museum, and the translation circuitry in your head just crashes.
It's the worst feeling.
You end up gesturing wildly and saying, "I went to the big building where you see old dinosaur bones." Someone politely smiles and supplies the word museum, and in that moment, you want the floor to open up and swallow you whole. You feel like an idiot.
Yes.
I always compare speaking a second language in a social setting to playing a fast-paced sport while wearing a 50-pound weighted vest.
A weighted vest. That's a profound and highly accurate way to describe it.
It is. You are doing the exact same thing everyone else in the room is doing, communicating, making jokes, sharing stories, reading body language, but you are carrying this massive extra cognitive load.
Right. You are translating in real time, checking your pronunciation, worried about verb tenses, trying to remember idioms.
It is physically and mentally exhausting, and when you stumble, it feels like everyone in the room is judging your intelligence.
This raises an important question about how we view our own accents and our own linguistic journeys. Many people who move to an English-speaking country feel immense, crushing shame about their accent.
They really do.
They spend years and thousands of dollars trying to neutralize it entirely so they can pass as a native speaker. But we need to shift this narrative. Your accent is not a mistake.
What is it then?
Your accent is a map of where you have been. It is auditory proof that your brain is capable of navigating more than one way to view the world. It is a fundamental, beautiful part of your story.
And the reality is, people usually don't judge you for it the way you judge yourself. They are actually impressed.
Spot on. Most monolingual English speakers, who only know one language, are deeply impressed that you are navigating their complex, rule-breaking language at all. They're generally supportive, not judgmental.
And the best social strategy here when you stumble is to use self-deprecating humor. When you forget the word for museum, don't panic and apologize profusely.
Just laugh and say, museum, thank you. My English sometimes goes on vacation without me.
That kind of easy humor diffuses the tension instantly. It shows you don't take yourself too seriously, which immediately puts everyone else at ease and makes you incredibly endearing.
Absolutely. It shows confidence, even in your mistakes. But beyond just the mechanics of the language, there is the deeper, more existential hurdle of balancing two distinct cultures. The first name scenario really highlights the friction of this identity crisis.
Yes, this is a perfect example of cultural friction. In many Asian, African, and Middle Eastern cultures, calling someone older than you or someone in a senior societal position by their first name is a sign of profound disrespect. It feels fundamentally wrong.
You use titles like Mr., Mrs., Sir, Madam, or specific familial titles like auntie or uncle, even for non-relatives.
But in North America, casual first name basis is the aggressive norm almost everywhere, even in many corporate offices.
It can feel physically uncomfortable, almost offensive, for an immigrant to look their 60-year-old neighbor in the eye and casually call him Bob.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you force yourself to say Bob and feel internally disrespectful and guilty, or do you stubbornly say Mr. Bob and risk making him feel old, weird, and uncomfortably formal?
The resolution here is about understanding that you do not have to completely abandon your core cultural identity in order to fit in. Assimilation does not have to mean erasure.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it.
Authentic friendships allow for a multicultural identity. You can simply explain the friction to your friend or neighbor. You say, Bob, in my culture, it's a deep sign of respect to use titles for people I admire. It feels a bit uncomfortable for me to use just first names right now while I'm adjusting.
And how do they usually react to that?
A true friend or a decent neighbor will say, that makes total sense. Take your time, or honestly, call me whatever makes you feel comfortable.
You can keep your deep-seated cultural respect for elders while still adapting to the fact that you are going to grab casual coffee with them.
Absolutely. You are not replacing your old culture with a new one. You are integrating them. You are building a hybrid identity. Quality over quantity always wins in this process.
You aren't trying to be best friends with everyone in the city. You are looking for those few genuine, high-quality connections where you can bring your whole authentic multicultural self to the table without hiding the parts of you that come from somewhere else.
Right on the money.
What an incredible expansive journey we've mapped out today. We have gone all the way from the defensive anxiety of the initial, where are you from, at the coffee shop, to understanding the counterintuitive courage it takes to be vulnerable at the gym.
We covered a lot of ground.
We decoded the hidden math of mingling at house parties, figured out exactly when a smiley face emoji is mandatory, and learned how to gracefully pivot away from political landmines without killing the conversation.
We talked about hitting the tennis ball back over the net to maintain those connections.
And finally, we learned that your accent is a badge of honor, a map of your incredible story, not a weighted vest you have to hide from the world.
It is undeniably a complex, sometimes exhausting landscape, but it is highly navigable once you understand the psychology behind the unwritten rules. But I want to leave you with one final, perhaps provocative thought to mull over as you step out your front door and into your new community tomorrow.
What's that?
What if the goal of moving to a new country isn't to flawlessly blend in until you completely disappear? What if the goal isn't to become indistinguishable from a native-born citizen? What if your true purpose is to bring a completely new, unique flavor to the culture? A different perspective, a deeper warmth, a tested resilience that they didn't even know they were missing.
I love that perspective. You aren't just learning their language, you are actively enriching it. If this deep dive helped you feel a little more at home today, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Keep trying, keep showing up, and your future friends will find you. See you next time.